Hi guys, welcome back to Tech Insights with Dylan White. We are on day 5. I know we took about a 15-day break. I wrote a video about that Monday, why that happened. Hopefully you guys caught it. If not, be sure to look at it below. But we're just going to jump right back into our 30-day journey to the SC-900. So let's review what we went through before with the Microsoft Security 101 overview and a really good introduction into what is security, just through not only the lens of Microsoft, but also from other industry leaders. So we went through 8 different modules covering everything from security basics, zero trust, identity network, even AI was in there a bit. So we went really lightly through the security basics. Now we're going to dive a little bit deeper, but Microsoft focused. So I'm really excited to go through this with you guys. Remember, by the end of this, you should be well prepared to take your SC-900 exam. And I'm even going to go ahead and get 2 people ahead and start and get them a certification. So stay tuned. Let's dive into an overview of SC-900 and what it means. Let's go. All right, guys, let's dive into an overview of the Microsoft SC-900 exam. For those of you that don't know what that is, it is a security, compliance, and identity role, right? So anything in the security role will always have a tag of SC, security compliance, and identity is sometimes just left off just for Microsoft likes 2-letter acronyms for their certification exams. So we're going to dive through a little bit about the skill requirements. I'm also going to dive into an overview the sections, and then we'll go into a mind map of the pillars and talk through them again, just kind of reaffirm them, and then we'll walk into the 5 different jobs that by the end of this, you should be able to niche down into and get further training. Along the way of the next 25 days, through each of these pillars or side jobs, as I say, call them a little side mission, you should be able to find certification. We'll walk through what it means to do a role in that job function, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. For now, let's just dive through this. Okay, let's get it. So for those of you that have never taken a Microsoft exam, the first thing I do is I go to study guide. Before anything else, study guide Microsoft Learn has everything you'll need. It's got modules, it's got practice exams, it's got sometimes even videos based on the exam. But for 900, it's really, since we're just covering fundamentals, there's no administration, there's no real pick and choose kind of thing. It's all really just concept based. Multiple choice, true, false, that kind of thing. It's really basic, right? So Microsoft doesn't give you any kind of, test videos because most likely the modules and the practice assessment should set you up to pass. Right? It's fairly simple, straightforward test. By the end of this, you'll definitely pass it if you stick with me for 30 days. So we only got to go through this one a few times, but if you look at these, when I look at the study guide, the first thing you want to see is the percentages based on the modules, right, or the different learning pathways. So if you look here, there's 4 different pathways. The first one is the concepts of security, compliance, and identity, and that's 10 to 15% will show up on the test. The capabilities of Microsoft Entra, right, everything identity, is 25 to 30%. The capabilities of Microsoft Security Solutions is 35 to 40%, and the capabilities of compliance solutions is 20 to 25%. So just looking at this quickly, most of the time you spend studying should be between the security solutions, Entra, and compliance. The concepts will only get you 10 to 15% away. So if you just ace the concepts of SCI, you won't go that far. You really got to know the security solutions from Microsoft, and they're available. Let's dive into. So what I really like about the overviews and the study guides from Microsoft is that they're giving you what will be on the test, right? They are giving it to you. So I'm not going to read through this verbatim. Please, the notes, the link will be in the show notes. So just click it. But as you go through it, you'll see, hey, what are those concepts? It's shared responsibility. We talked about that in the Security 101. Defense in depth and zero trust. Talked about that in the 101. Encryption, hashing, GRC, right? All these things. We didn't talk about the hashing perspective, but we talked about most of it. Identity concepts, same thing. We talked about this, right? When we go to Entra, we didn't really dive into this, right? So that's not something you covered yet. Entra is everything Microsoft identity, right? Hybrid identity, what different types of identity, and what is Entra ID, right? All kinds of different things. Like I said, I'm just going to bounce around, but you can see you should know each one of these to pass the test. And what I've seen some people do in are just groups in different socials. What people will do is they'll take each of these and create a spreadsheet and then basically check it off as they've reached it, right? So this isn't the modules from Microsoft Learn, but this is just verbatim what you should know. So from security solutions, you should know each one of these, right? What is DDoS protection? What is Azure Firewall? What is a WAF? what is an NSG, Bastion, blah, blah, blah. So services, management capabilities, right? What is Microsoft Sentinel? There's all kinds of different things. By the end of that, you should be really well versed in it. Compliance solutions, right? Again, Services Trust Portal. What is the Services Trust Portal? Describe Microsoft Priva. Describe Compliance Manager. Yada yada yada. Data lifecycle, data governance. All that's in here, right? And you can have different study resources, the documentation, the Microsoft Learn module, all of it. The exam readiness zone, some of it's in there, not all of it. Again, it's concept based. So for me, I would go through Microsoft Learn modules. And personally, I think that would be enough for the test along with this. We're going to go really into each one of those pieces. So let's jump into a mind map and let's walk through where I would go and how this certification can walk you into other roles and further niche, right? So the way I look at fundamentals exams is this great way to move from maybe a desktop administrator or maybe a help desk engineer or a level one, right? Something where you're just trying to work your way up or work your way into security. This is a great exam to figure out the different niches that you can go further down. So on the other side, we'll walk through a little mind map, those different roles. See you guys soon. All right, guys, let's take a look at the mind map. So based off of the exam that we're doing, right, so SC-900 itself, you should have a precursor knowledge into just TAC in general, right? You should be looking from moving from a help desk engineer, very basic, working your way up again, working your way into security. I've said it many times on my channel, and I've worked with many peers and industry professionals, and I was at a presentation I told everybody about it last year. Security is not an entry-level role unless you're going to an enterprise organization, right? Unless you're going to be part of a team that has 10 plus people, and it's just too much risk for most organizations to have a security professional that has no industry knowledge. Just will very rarely have it. So I'm very real with people that these are other roles that you can niche into from also already having experience. So if we look at it, right, the SC-900 really has truly four true pillars, if you want to think about it, right? It's got identity, and then it's got everything around GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. And it's got everything around um, actual cloud security, right? Because it's talking about all the different Microsoft 365 capabilities, etc. And talks a bit about zero trust, right? Which gives you those pillars. Like I said on that Security 101, the pillars give you a really good idea of where you can niche down to as well. From the SC-900 itself, this is the 4 to 5 different roles that I look for afterwards, right? I look into these different roles to move my career for the next 12 to 18 months. I say it all the time on my channel, look in your career pathway in 12 to 18 months. Our world of technology that you are trying to enter changes so rapidly. If you look further out than 12 to 18 months, it just will blow by you. And the world will change way too much. So the first role I like to talk about is really identity access administrator, right, or engineer. It's not technically a security role, right? It's really just a further advanced role from a help desk or standard level one desktop, blah blah blah. But the IAM, identity access administration, is such a gateway now to security that I had to include it, right? And I love identity myself. That's where I started. I think it's just a really good role to move from the possibly cloud administrator to just niching into one pathway down. You have automation, you have governance, you have SSO, you have security fundamentals, all kinds. Then add into the fact that now identity is widely accepted as the actual control plane, the first level control plane for security. Just makes so much sense. And then moving over one other way to the left here, I added an endpoint security engineer because I think that truly is the next niche, right? So if you think about it from, I'm doing a desktop support role, where do I want to go next? Endpoint security just makes so much sense because you have already a background in patch management, you have a background in update management, you have a background in user support. Endpoint security just adds in that next level of them, right? It's like, yes, I can do this, right? I already know what patching is. Now I just need to know what vulnerability management is. Or now I just need to know what endpoint, protection is, right? How can I deploy endpoint protection? What's a virus scan? Blah, blah, right? And then there's all kinds of different tools and specific things around different industries to where you can niche even further, right? Whether that's IoT endpoint security, whether that's mobile endpoint security, all kinds of different things. It's just a really good role to niche, and you can have a full career just in that. Security analyst talks for itself, right? And work in a SOC, I think it's a great way to move from just help desk role or knock to go move into a SOC, right? You get your SC-900, you then could go get your SC-200 as an add-on, which is all about security operations. And an analyst role would be perfect, right? It's right there. And it's really, there's so many companies out there. There's so many organizations and consulting agencies that are, and stocks in general, MDR providers, blah, blah, blah. Security analysts are high in need. I would say here in the U.S., it's a really good role, right? It's harder in the U.S., but it's definitely still a good role, and it's one that you can niche into and have a lasting career. Data security is one that's gotten so much more attention over the last, we'll call it 9 months. It has always been around. It's always been a thing. But ever since the generation AI, and companies and organizations wanting to secure that, data security has been at the forefront of everybody's mind. So it's huge. Microsoft just released a report saying that their AI governance tool, right, that's an add-on to their Microsoft Purview compliance suite, has gotten a 400% adoption since it's gone GA over the last 5 months. That's insane, right? From a product standpoint, the biggest product release they've had in a few years. It's insane. And so I would just say, if you're coming from a background in fraud, if you're coming from a background in banking, anything that's really data heavy, even a data analyst, and you want to say move into security, go for data security. It's all about GRC. It's all about mapping data, user support. Right? So if you have some business analyst skills, it's perfect. Moving to the right, cloud security speaks for itself, right? Everyone wants to move into the cloud. Everyone wants to understand more about the cloud. It's everywhere. Microsoft has a whole exam that's about cloud security. I'm not going to be the dead horse on this one. It's so important. If you need a niche, it's very saturated right now, but there's all kinds of other platforms and tools that you can add in to set yourself apart, not just in the Microsoft realm, right? So there's all kinds. So of course I didn't hit every single one. I didn't talk about network security. I didn't really talk about email security. There's all kinds of different roles that you can truly niche down another level into. But these are the 5 for me that stand out from the exam, right? Especially moving more lateral ways than the Microsofts. And so what I would say from each of these is that over the next 25 days, mixed in with our SC-900 studies, is we're going to go into each one of these roles a little bit further and talk about some other certs that you could do to set yourself apart in some labs. So we're going to try Hacking is a great one for those of you that have never tried it. It's got great stuff for both, almost actually I think all 5 of these different pillars. I don't know if they have anything data security related, but I definitely know they have something for the other 4. We'll dive in. So I'm super excited. Again, guys, SC-900 tomorrow. We're going to walk through the day 2 of the SC-900 or day 6 of this 30-day study guide. We're going to walk into and we're going to get through the basic concepts. So super excited. If you guys like the content, think of anything else you'd like to see study-wise or other roles, let me know. But otherwise, stay tuned. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe. Thanks.